All right. Almost there, you guys. Forgive me. Almost ready. Shalom to everyone this evening. Thank you for taking out time of your evening to spend with us and to learn from the Creator. Here we go. All right. All right. So we're in what they will call Bereshith, Genesis chapter number 12. We're in the third day of this reading that we've been going over. And just to kind of review everything that you've probably read over the last few days, I want to bring some things to our attention to give us an understanding about what direction that we should continue to read and how we should understand this in particular Torah portion. They're all different. They're not the same. Okay. So I bring up the Hebrew scriptures because, and especially in Bible Hub, because I want us to really start appreciating the language and knowing like, well, we have to look at how things are said, all right. So let me bring this out. And he said, Yahweh to Avram. His name is not Avraham at this time. His name is Avram. Okay, it's very important. And what he said to him was a command. And the name of our Torah portion is Lek, and then they have it as Lecha, okay, or Lekha, okay. So that's the name of the Torah portion, Lecha. But they don't tell us that it is actually an imperative. This is a command. And the command is given in the first person. So the Creator himself is speaking directly to Abraham. That's what this El means, to Abraham, because it's El, it has what you would call an ox head, and then it has a shepherd's staff, okay? And this ox head right here in Aleph means strength, and it means to be strong. And then this is the staff, which also has the idea of authority. So the Creator is talking to him in a very strong way, and he gives him a command. And the command that he gives him is Lech Lecha, okay? In the Torah portion, you're going to find that this word Lecha is used primarily to say, if we break it down, again, that's a staff, and it means to guide, okay? And it also has, like I said, a strong authority. But it also, this little ka right here on the end, if you're in my class, that means you. And it means the second person, masculine, singular, okay? So he's talking directly to him, and he's letting him know that I want you to lech lecha. I need you to go out, because this word lech means to walk, okay? Why? Because you have a shepherd's staff in your hand, and that this staff is going to the kaf, which means you. So this is about walking. This is about a journey, okay? And we know that according to the text, meaning I need you to come out from your land. And the land in which he was in was not what they would call the land of Ur Chaldee. That's where he's from. But the actual name of the land that he's actually in at this time, according to chapter number 11, is this land called Karan. And he and his father and his brother and their family all went down there after they left the Ur of Chaldees. Tarak brought them out of that land, but they were in this word Quran here. They was in this land. And he says, I want you to leave your land. He got there in English, your country, but it's really your land. And I want you to, and from those, okay, it doesn't say your mishpachah. I don't need you to leave the mishpachah. I want you to leave your relatives, okay? The people that are from your bloodline, I want you to leave them, and the house of your father. That's where I want you to leave. I want you to leave from the house of, that's the house from your father, your Avika, okay? And I need you to go to, again, he's still talking, and this is still part of the command. I need you to go to, so everything in verse 1 is definitely a command. To the land, not a land, it's a definite article. Okay, which this right here is not the proper interpretation. You say, Akika, why are you telling us this? Why are you saying these grammatical things? Is because if you don't understand what's being said, you're going to get misdirected and you won't understand how important this land is. Okay, so I need you to go to the land, not a land. The difference is a land can be any land. It could be any land. A means any land. The land is the one that I am going to direct you to with my staff. That staff right there to you. So leka means a staff to you. Okay. So I'm directing you. I'm causing you to walk to the land that the aleph right here, I will, imperfect, I will, this is done properly. And it says show to you. Now, if you've been with me for the last couple of weeks in the teachings, you'll find out that I've been giving a lot of attention to that which is done in a way that is causative. What do I mean by causative? Well, what I mean is that the creator of the heavens and the earth is not getting the credit that he deserves, okay? He's not getting what's due to him because people are changing what he said. And you and I he says, anyone who misrepresents me or says something about me that's not true will have to give an answer. So as your brother, I'm talking to you as my brothers and sisters. I'm not talking to you just as, a more or a rabbi or none of those things. I don't take on those titles because they're very dangerous titles. It's a lot of responsibility and I'm not trying to avoid it, but I'm just keeping it real. This is causative. And for him to cause him to see something, it means that I'm going to show you something. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cause you to see. And when you cause someone to see something, you're making something known to them. So I'm going to bring you not to a land, I'm bringing you to the land that I plan on giving to you and showing to you. There's a purpose for me doing this. Verse number 2. And we know in our Hebrew class, and is right here, and this is a conjunction. So far, and means to make a connection. So this statement right here in verse 2 is connected to verse number 1 because it has and that is the conjunction. Like a choo-choo train, you got card number 1, and between those two cards, there is a rod that connects both of those cards together. That's what and means. It's a conjunction. It connects both things to what it needs to go to. Okay. So he's not cutting off the command. He's not cutting off the command. Part of the command is that I'm going to show this land to you and I will make you ka, okay, in a lagoi, gadol. I'm giving you into a great nation. Okay. That's what I'm going to make you, a lagoi gadol. Generally, after in Hebrew, they'll tell you the noun and then they'll give you the adjective afterwards. In English, it would be the great nation. The great would be right here in front, and then they would tell you to the nation. But in the Hebrew, it's just the opposite. But it's still a great nation. This is what I'm going to make you into, a gadol. Okay, you're going to be a great nation. And there's another and. There's an I on the front of it. Vavoreka. The ka here is you. The 3-letter root right here is to bless. Okay. So when he talks about blessing him, remember we have 2 types of blessing. We got the blessing that's a Baruch. Okay. And then we have the blessing that was a Ashrei. And so the Ashrei, spelled that wrong. The Ashrei is different. This one is happy. The other blessing that he's talking about right here with Baruch, that has to do with increasing your numbers. Okay. I'm going to increase your numbers. If I increase your numbers, I'm increasing what? Your what? I'm going to increase your family. I'm going to increase your people. Okay. But it also tells us that Sarai in chapter number 11, that she couldn't have children. So we know that as well. And then he continues and says that here's another and. So the command is still going. So I'm going to bless you. I'm going to, make you great. And I'm going to make, okay, Agadala, I'm going to make your name, I'm going to proclaim your name, and it will be a barakah. It's going to be a blessing. Okay. So his name itself is going to, that's part of what Yah intends on doing. Now, everything that we read so far, starting here with the Hiphael, is I will do this for you. I will cause. Okay. So I'm not only causing this to be done to you, but I'm also going to cause you to become a great nation. Okay. And I will bless you. And I'm also going to make you very great, your name, and it will exist as a blessing. Okay. Your name is going to exist as a blessing. And I'm going to explain this to us a little further. Verse number 3, he continues on with a wa, meaning and, another conjunction. And Aleph here means I, and then these 3 letters right here, Barak, is the blessed. And then, of course, the last letter there, or Barakah, is I'm going to bless you. And from those, and I will bless those who bless you. Now, because this is not the same type of way that is conjugated, he's telling you that this is continual. This is an ing. Okay. That's what a participle means. It means that it's going to continue, not a one-time deal. It's always going to be continuing. So it's called really blessing on a continual basis, not just one-time bless. And then also too, this word right here talks about cursing. And it's a participle as well. I mean, I'm cursing them too. So anybody that blesses you, that's continually to bless you, not just one time, and there's just, it's a constant, then those individuals, I will bless. Okay. What's interesting here in this conversation, in the way that it's written, is called a cohortive. And a cohortive is what they would call a desire. And some people will say that it was a wish, but also too, it means a purpose. It means that Yah has an intention behind making Abraham's name great. Is the greatness is not just for the sake of Abraham, but it's for the benefit of all the nations of the world and the families of the world. So it tells you how important this blessing truly is. And then he attaches a blessing to those who are continually blessing you. And he also attaches a curse to those who are continually cursing you. So he knows that Abraham, he's letting him know that you are going to have enemies. Okay. And this blessing is not just appertains to just Avram, but it is connected to those of his descendants, because everybody that comes through him. Okay. Then he says, I will curse those who are cursing you. Okay. So I'll bless those who are continually blessing you, ing, and I'm going to curse those who are continually cursing you. And that is my desire. And that is my purpose. And that is my intention. Okay. And then he says that shall be blessed. And now he's not talking about Abraham. He's talking about those, because here is the U on the end. It's a plural, talking about the nations. In you, all of the mishpachoth, of the families of the ha'adamah, of the earth. That's what is going to happen. And what it is that these individuals, listen what it is. All these individuals, this nivraku, these goim, this mishpatim, or this mishpachoth, the families of the earth, all of them are going to bless you. That's what they're going to do. What that means, if you look at the word Barak, or what you say Baruch, this has to do with the knee. Now, I don't know if you guys are a Game of Thrones fan or House of the Dragon, but they're really on this thing about bending the knee. Okay. This is what this is about. Yah's talking about someone bringing a gift to Avram. Okay. They're going to bring a gift to Avram. Why? And when Yah changes his name to Avraham, on a bended knee, that is the goal of giving Avraham a name, a nation, and a land. Okay. It's not just to have Yerushalayim there, but it's to bring people to that land so they can bend the knee. Now, I know you remember what we learned last week, just a few days ago. Do you remember when Noah had said what he said to his son Shem? Do you remember what he said to Shem? Somebody remember? What did he say to this man, his son Shem, known as Shem in English? What did Noah say? What did his father say to him? If you don't remember, he says, "Blessed be Yahweh." That's what he says. Blessed be Yahweh, the Elohim of Shem, of this name. Because he was telling him that Yahweh's name is going to be continually, not just blessed in one time, but that's an ing too. There's someone in out of this family that's going to come forward that the blessing of Yahweh's name will always happen. And so he's chosen out of all the families that he could have had to bless his name is Avram. This is really significant. The reason why this is significant, because it easily could have had not been you and I. Easily. Okay? I'm just making it clear. It easily could have not been you and I. Can you still see my screen? Do you guys see? You see the genealogical table?
Yes.
All right. So when he blesses him, when Noah gives his blessing to Shem, his son, out of all these people here, that name of Yahweh could have been given to any of it. It could have been given to the Iranians. It could have been given to the Syrians. It could have been given to the Armenians. It could have been given to this guy. But it wasn't. It went to Arphaxad all the way down Salah to Eber. And Eber is called Ever, and Ever means the one who crosses over. And then he had two sons, Peleg and Reu, Sereg, and Terah and Abraham. So that actual bless of Yahweh is coming through this line, and it ends up with this guy here. It could have been anyone out of this family. That's what it could have been, but it wasn't. It happened over here. And then he has his descendants, as you know. And then you and I fall in those lines. So it's not just in Abraham's family, because there's another clip, or let me better say, there's another genealogical table that shows. See, so you guys can get this, so you can understand. Moving forward, you'll be like, okay, I'm starting to understand now what you're saying. You're telling me that it could have easily been another family. Let me see, where's it at, if I can find it. I should have found it before I did all the scrolling. Forgive me, you guys. It's a table. You guys see all my notes. You see, I do a lot of research, do a lot of study. Where is it at? Let me show it to you. No, that's not it. No, that's not it either. So before that? I'm sorry, you guys. I should have had it available. All right, I'm having a hard time finding it. I'll have to get out of this and come back later. So you and I are these people, and my point is that there's a whole nother line that Abraham had, which is Yishmael, and he had other sons and daughters through Keturah and everything. So we're very blessed. We're the descendants of the people. That's my point. Verse number 4 says, and Wayalek. And so in that word, again, you can see, and this is what you need to look for. If you do have time and you do your Torah portion, please do me a favor and go to BibleHub.com and do your Torah portion that way. And if you got to read it in English going this way, that's fine. Okay, don't just go to, the complete Jewish Bible or anything. Try to look at what's being said so you can find out. Like if you look at Lech Lecha, the number is 1980. So they'll have other words that have that root in it. Here's the lamed, and there's the kaf right there. So, you know, I want you to recognize how many times this word is being used. So I'm mentioning or showing it to you because I want to let you to know that this whole thing with him is about a journey. That he's on a journey, and Yah is the one who's causing it. He's causing him to walk to different places. He's guiding him along this way. And so he departed and he left and he went, Abraham, as spoken to him, which is a PL, like Yah talked to him, and it wasn't in a soft voice. He gave him a command to him, Yahweh. Yahweh went. And then again, here's another 1980. That means he knew why you elect in. And he went with him, Lot, his nephew, and Avram. It tells you his age. He was 75 years old when he left. And he Wayetse, and he went from that land, which I told you was called Karan, right here. Karan. It's not Haran like they have it. It's not Haran. It's Karan. And we know it's Karan because of that ket right there, which is a CH. Okay? Very important. And then this is something I wanted to bring to our attention about the study, which the Most High had shown me. I've never seen this before. This is my like 9th tour or journey in the Torah portion, and I never picked up on it. But I'm happy that I picked up on it because I want to share with everyone. Okay. Verse number 5 says that he took, and he's talking about him, Avraham, and then it tells you these things here. Okay. I almost should make it a little bit, bring it up a little bit further so you can see. This is very significant what I'm about to show you. He took, and then it tells us things that he took. I'm going to circle or square out these things called eth and yeth. If you can see, they're all 853, 853, 853. Okay. And here's another one. All right. So we have 4 of them. Can someone tell me what this means from a grammatical standpoint? What does that mean? What does yeth mean? What does the aleph and the tav mean?
Is it a strong sign?
Yes, it's a strong sign, absolutely. But it's also known as what they would call a direct object marker. It's a direct object marker. And what do we mean by a direct object marker? This is operating like an arrow. So anytime you see an aleph and a tav, and it might have a wa in front of it, all that wa means is and. That's all it means. And but they say eth, okay? So if you look at the structure, and I'll erase this right quick for you. You see right here, it says conjunction. That would be the wa. That means and. But the translation just says and. So you don't really get it. You're like, okay, it means and. So you're kind of confused, like that's yeth. But why is it yeth? Well, the next line on this side is called a direct object marker. So it's telling you and a direct object marker. The direct object marker is used to point you, okay, to what was taken. Listen to me carefully. In any sentence, and I know you guys can appreciate this. That's why I'm sharing it with you. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm not trying to say, oh, look what I know. I'm not. I'm here to teach you. Here's a verb, okay? And this verb is a very simple verb, okay? It says, wayakak, and that means, and he took. So that is the verb that's an action. The action is that he took something, okay? And it's telling you the he, this yod right here is telling he, which is the third person masculine singular. That he right there is the next noun. And that noun who's doing that taking is Avram. Okay? You see that? Everybody see that? Any questions?
Yes.
So, okay? So when this word right here, and I'm going to give praise to the creator of the heavens and the earth for making this known to us, because he didn't have to. I'm going to click on it. That's why I want you to start going to Bible Hub. Click on it. What you see here is this word called laquak. Okay, that's the name of this word, laquak. La quack. They got a K there, but really this is a Q in English. Okay, laquak. Here it is right here, laquak. Okay, this is a phonetic spelling, and it means to take. To take a wife. It also means to learn, to take information. To receive. Okay, so it has a couple of different meanings. I wanted to show you that it consists of 3 letters, right? But when we look at our word that we just saw, it doesn't have the lamed in it. And that's for a reason, because it's called a weak verb. And a weak verb means that the letter that's there, that's supposed to be there, is going to drop off. And what you see here now is this word called wayikwak, wayikwak, okay? Wayikwak means the same thing. It means to take. And this means and, that's the wa, and this means he, because somebody has to do the taking. And that yod right there, that's what the name of that letter is, means he. And the he that took this, okay, is Avram. He's the one who took this. Now they're going to point us to what was taken, which is Eth Sarai, right, his wife, Eth Lot, which is the son of his brother, and the son of your brother is what? Your nephew, okay? So there, he was taken, that he took. What else did Abraham take? Well, let's continue. There's another Eth. The Eth here is that he took all of the Rakusham, okay, which is the possessions, which were gathered, okay, which they gathered when they left their place, right? And all the time that they've been in Ur of Chaldees and Mesopotamia, and they went down to Quran, and they got stuff there too. And the last Eth I'm pointing an arrow to is this, and they took the souls, the Hadnafesh, the people. That's what a soul is a person. And they took those things. So how many things whom they had acquired in Quran, and they departed in the Lalaketh, meaning 1980. You see the Lamed right here, but you see a Kaf written in a different way, but it's still 1980. They took, if you put that up, it'll be Lak. And they took with them, or he took with him to the land. Okay. So Dawid, why are you telling us this? Why did you stop here and go through all these YFs? Because I want to tell you what this is saying. Besides that he took something. In your Torah portion, Abraham is being told that he took these individuals, okay? The first one that he took with him was Sarai. That's his wife. That's the YF, the arrow pointing directly to her. His wife, his Ishtel, okay? The next thing that we have a YF is pointing directly to Lot, okay? That's the second thing that was taken, which is the son of his brother. The third thing that was taken was all of the Rukusham. The Rukusham in Hebrew means all of his possessions. They were taken. He took them with him, okay? And last but least is the YF of the people. That's the fourth thing that they gathered when they were in those places that they were. I want you to know that these in particular things that he took with him in your Torah portion is going to be exactly what's taken from him. Okay. So Sarai will be taking away from him like she was, and you found that in Torah portion. Who took her away from him?
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh did in the land of Mizraim, correct?
Yeah.
When we get to chapter number 18, on chapter number 14, somebody took Lot. Didn't they come in and take Lot? Do you remember? Chapter number 14, I don't know if we're there yet, but when you get there, someone's going to take Lot. They're going to take his nephew, and they're going to take him, and they're going to take all of the possessions that he had. Okay? That's what they're going to take. They're going to take the possessions. Wish my pen would work. Okay? And the fourth thing that they're going to take which they did take when they took Lot, was the people. They took the people. So here is the possessions are going to be taken. The next thing is going to be taken is the souls, with the nefeshkas. They're going to be taken. All four of these things were taken from Avram in this Torah portion.
The cup of water.
You see that?
Cup.
Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions? Because that's significant. There's never been, Yah has never shown that to me. And I'm telling you, the reason why I'm telling you this is because when he tells you that he took these people, Abraham's the first one who took all of them. But then in your Torah portion, you're going to find out that Sarah was taken away from him. You're going to find out Lot was taken away from him. You're going to find out all his possessions were taken away from him. And then you're going to find out that the souls of the people were taken away from him. So the Creator is letting us know something when we found this. When you read your Torah portion, start watching these things. Start giving your attention to what they would call the F's, the arrows. Yah has given us this tool in its writing form, in the grammar, to kind of direct you, to let you know how and what you should be focused on in your Torah portion. You won't be able to see it in English. That's why I suggested you go to Bible Hub and you look at it. Okay. So that's why I wanted to bring that out to you. And I didn't learn that from anybody except for the Creator. I didn't learn that from a man. I didn't learn it from anybody. Okay. So with that being said, verse number 6 says, and they passed through Abraham, right? He was passing through the land to the place of the Shechem, as far as to Tabernath, to Moreh, the Canaanite at the time. They were living in the land at that time. One other point I want to bring to your attention in verse number 7. So in your notes, right, verse number 5, that deals with the YF. Okay. Now we don't see any other YFs. We don't even see them. You don't see them in 6. They're not there. You don't see them in 7. Okay. Well, yes, you do see right there in 7. Sorry, forgive me. And appeared Yahweh to Avram. Okay. Now, in this verse, it says, and he, and the Yod right here is pointing directly to Yahweh, to Avram. Yahweh appeared to him. Okay. And this is what he said to him. And he said, a lot of us would say, well, how did he appear to him? How do you think Yahweh appeared to him?
The cloud.
It could have been a cloud. It could have been his glory. Yah doesn't tell us how he appeared. He said he appeared. It could have been a vision. It could have been him talking to him in his mind. It could have been, I don't know. It doesn't tell us that. He didn't see any image. It doesn't specify. Okay. So the writer, the narrator, doesn't give us that information. We do know in chapter number 15 that he appeared to him in a vision. Okay. In 15. So logically, you would say, well, he appeared to him in a vision. All because it's mentioned in chapter number 15 doesn't mean that that's the first time he appeared that way. Okay. So when you read this and it says that Yah appeared to him, he didn't appear to him as a man. He appeared to him. And we find in chapter 15 that it was in a vision. Okay. So I'm leaning towards a vision because that's how he's appeared to him before. Okay. Chapter number 18, it says that these 3 men came down and spoke to him, right? And it says Yahweh was among them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Yahweh was one of those men. Yah has always used individuals like Malachim to speak, and they give you the word of what Yahweh said. Okay. But here it says he appeared to him and listened to what he said. This is very important. Yahweh said to Abraham, he says, to your descendants. Okay. And you might say, well, Zerakah doesn't mean plurality. So I don't see, a plurality sign here. All we see is Zerah. And Zerah means seed, and one, meaning one. That's all it means. It means singular, one seed. And it says Zeraim, and it says Zeraim. It says Zerah. So what happens is that the Christians and those who follow the Christian narrative, according to what Paul said, that seed that he talked about is one, and that one seed is Christ. But we're going to destroy that. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of ammunition to destroy that idea. Okay, so right here it says, to your seed, meaning singular, doesn't have plurality. Let's follow what it is. Zeraka. Okay, he says, I will attain, I will give something to them. And what does he give this seed? If it is one seed, what does he give the seed? What do you see right there in that same verse, verse number 7? He points us to what? I will give right here. Eth is an arrow pointing directly to this is what I'm going to give. The verb is pointing to the object of the verb. The definite article, the, not a, but the land. That's what I'm going to give that seed, is the land, this land, the land that you're in. That's what I'm going to give you. That's what I'm going to give to you and to your seed. Okay. So off the top, someone says that Christ is the seed, then you would, and they try to say, well, he said he's going to give them heaven. You say, no, the only thing that Elohim, Yahweh, ever promised Abraham is the Haaretz. That's what he promised him. Do you see eternal life in here? Does he say I'm going to give you eternal life? He said, I'm going to give I'm going to give, and he said, to your descendants. That's what he said to Abraham. To your, that's that ka, your zerah, to right here with a staff. I will give, and here it is. The arrow is pointing directly to what I'm giving you. And this hazoth right here means was standing before you. And at that moment, he, which is Abraham, built there, Sham, a Mizbeach to Yahweh. He built a altar to Yahweh, okay, in the land of Shechem. So this is the first place where he built an altar to Yahweh in this land, okay? And it says, whom appeared to him. We'll move a little faster because I got to go somewhere else with that. So remember that. So the thing that was promised to him is the land, and the land in which Abraham was walking in. And there in the land of Shechem, Abraham built his first altar. Then it says, and he moved from Misham, from there, to the Hahara, in the mountain in the east, to a place called Bethel. Okay. Beth means house, and El is the house of El, which is the house of Elohim. That's what it means, the house of El. Okay. And he pitched his tent there at Bethel, okay, at the house of El, the house of power. This is the same place where his grandson, Yaakov, had that experience with the Creator at Bethel, okay? And he said on the west, at Ai, in the east, he built there an altar. So this is the second altar that he built, Sham, the Mizbeach, okay? So this is the second. The first one was in Shechem. This one is here. And when he built this altar, he built it to Yahweh. He built it for Yahweh or to Yahweh, and he called on the name of Yahweh. He didn't call on Yahweh's name in Shechem. He called on Yahweh's name at Bethel. Very important for us to remember, okay? So you're seeing these places where he's going. He's moving back and forth to different places. And so he journeyed on, and he kept going, and he ended up going down to Negev. And of course, he went through a famine. It drove him and his family down to Mizraim. In Mizraim, when he entered there, he said, I'm going to be killed, if they see you, because you're a beautiful woman. And what he told her was, I know that you're a beautiful woman, and that you have this really beautiful presentation. But what he did tell his wife is he gave her a command. He gave her an imperative. When he did say this, he didn't give her a suggestion. He told her, as you can see right here, Imri. IMP means an imperative. He gave her a command, and he told her that, please, you tell them that you're my sister, that's who you are, so that on your behalf, things will go well with me and for your sake, and you will live and then I will live too because of what you've done for me. So now what we see is that in this, the first Wa'eth is going to happen. The first Wa'eth is when they got to Mizraim, which that's why Yah drew our attention there. Because when they came in there, the men of Mizraim saw the woman, they saw how beautiful she was. And when they saw this woman, they didn't just go tell their, Pharaoh, the leader, how beautiful she was. They went and they praised her. They were halu, like the word hallelujah. They gave her praise. That's how beautiful she was. We're going to talk a little bit more about Sarai later on, okay? But that's the first thing that you want to see, is that the first one, the Wa'eth, was Sarai. And we see that like Abraham took her, now she's being taken by Pharaoh, okay? The second conversation that you and I are going to see about somebody to be taken, and that's Lot. Abram came out of Mizraim with a great deal of substance and wealth. And a matter of fact, the time that he spent in Mizraim was greater than what we've been told. A lot of us think that he was only there for a couple of months. He had to be there at least for a couple of years. He was there for a couple of years, and so he didn't have his wife. Well, Akika, where can you show us that he was there for a couple of years? Well, what we can find is that the customs of the pharaohs were that a woman had to go through a time of purification. When he found a woman, he didn't automatically marry these women. They literally had to go through a time, and that could be verified in other parts of the Tanakh and the book of Esther, I believe, where they have a certain amount of time that they got to prepare themselves before they marry them. A matter of fact, Pharaoh did call her to be his wife. That was the intention. But he didn't recognize the problems until Yah gave him a whole bunch of plagues. The reason why this is mentioned to us about these plagues, because it says right here, Naga, Wanaga, is where you get your word nega, N-E-G-G-A. And that's where you sometimes hear this word nigga. That means to be plagued or to be smitten by Yahweh. That's where you get this word, okay? Nigga, nega, it's all the same, okay? Same consonants and whatnot. It means that you're plagued, okay? So the plagues of Yahweh, as you can see, this arrow directly hit Pharaoh, and the plagues were so great. They were great plagues, and Wa'eth being pointed to his house. So this is the first time that we hear, but the second time that you and I hear about, you tell me, when did you hear about some great plagues on Pharaoh and his household? When did you hear about this?
Mitzrayim.
In Mitzrayim. So Yah's given us a forecast about what's going to happen. He didn't recognize that this woman was really this man's wife until Yah had plagued him. And Yah and the other nation, or the same nation, Mizraim, actually got plagued by Yahweh as well. Yahweh sends plagues to people to give recognition to who his people are and not to touch them. So Pharaoh was totally unaware of everything until this plague started happening, not only to him, Wa'eth, directly to him, but the Wa'eth as well to his household. That's the reason why the Wa'eth is there, is because when Yah puts that Wa'eth or the Aleph and the Tav, you and I need to pay attention, because he's using it as a direct object marker or an arrow to point you directly to what's happening, so it can bring to your attention, okay? See? And he said, upon the word for the sake of Sarai, the Eshet of Avram, because of his wife, okay? Also, too, this happened to a place called Gergar as well. And then it says, and then, of course, Pharaoh calls him to him, and he says, why'd you do this to me? Get yourself and leave and get out of here, right? And so he takes him, he's increased with his wealth, he's increased with all the oxen, the souls, the servants, and everything. So Yah actually sent him down there, okay, during a time so he can increase his wealth. And he uses his wife to help increase his wealth, okay? And so if you notice, he gave the command, Pharaoh gave a command to look. Quack, that means a command. Take your wife, what? And you laka, you need to go. So you can see 1980 laka again. That's why I told you, when you read this, you got to look for laka. You got to look for if you know laka's in the 1980, then every time you see 1980, write it down. And anytime you see that YF, you write it down. And that's going to help you understand what Yah is talking about. Okay. So you guys are already familiar with that. I want to show you one last thing in chapter number 13, which would help you understand this covenant that you and I are in. So apparently, after this great increase of wealth, Abraham and Lot had left altogether. Listen. And so now, again, and he went up, Avram, from Mizraim, he, his wife Ishto, and all that he had, and Lot with him. And they went back the same way that they came, the place. Oh, this is my verification that they were there for a couple of years, because they left Negev to go down to Mizraim. Why did they leave Negev? What was going on in Negev? Why did they have to go to Mizraim? Because it was a famine. Famines don't last for a couple of weeks, folks. They last for a couple of years, you see. So then we know that he didn't, was Sarai his half-sister? Yes, she was. She was. It was his half-sister. I think he explains that later on when we talk about what happened to him or what happened to her and what they call Gregar. We're going to get to that, and we'll go over that genealogy as well to find out how did that come about. So, yes, she is. She is his half-sister, okay? Then we'll say, well, the Torah says you can't do that. Yeah. Yes, it's true, you can't. So what Yah is doing is he's developing this great nation out of this man, okay? So Lot, and he had a lot of cattle as well, and Yah had used, Pharaoh to increase them, and they needed stuff for their livestock, so they stayed there a long time. So Yah provided provision for them and also protection. But here he said he was very rich. Abraham was super rich. He's Me'od, and he was rich in stock. He was rich in silver and gold. Very important. And again, we see this. What do we see in beginning of verse number 3? We see 1980. That means the Lamed and the Kaf is there again. So you see that, and it always has to do with the journey. So Yah puts him on another journey back from the place of the famine and brings him until he goes back to Bethel again, to the place in which existed there his tent in the first place. So that Yah brought him and brought that famine and caused that famine to happen, to bring him them, to cause him to be increased with wealth, and then bring him back to the Makom, the Hamazbeach, in which he made there at the first. And when he got back to the place in which he had his tent, he Wayikra, he called there on the Sham, on there, okay, Sham, on Avraham, the Bashem of Yahweh. So you can see in the script right here, this is what they would call a preposition, is letter bet right here, but you got a shin and a mem, and it means name. You got a shem and a mem, but it means there. It has the same identical letters. So you can see it can be a shin and a mem, and it can mean there. It could be a shin and a mem, and it can mean name. Okay, so you can have the same letters, but they give you different meanings. Okay, there they use this for there because it has to do with the Shamayim. It has to do with the heavens. It gives you the name for name because it has to do with the heavens, because it has to do with the breath, because your name is the breath of you, which is your character. When you speak someone's name, you're using your breath to say their name. Okay, and he tells us that there he called on the name of Yahweh. He called on the breath of Yah. He called on the name of Yahweh. He called on the character of Yahweh. So what we understand when we read this, he called on the name of Yahweh, as regular people, and if we were religious, we'd be like, he just called on the name of Yahweh. No, what he was doing was he was calling on Yah in the heavens. And what he was calling on Yah was on Yah's character. So we see that he was having conversations with Yah, and that's why he would call on Yah. Calling on Yah is what you and I need to do as his people. We don't call on him enough. He actually criticizes us. He says, you guys don't call on me. You never call on me. You might read about me, you might study about me, but you really don't call on me. You don't call on my character. When I do things for you, you have to be able to recognize them, okay? And then you also have to go to and call on them in a place that you've set up. Of course, you and I don't have an altar here, right? But you can make a place in your home or a special place somewhere or by a water or a park where you would just go and meet with Yah. You're not putting up an altar, but you are calling on Yah. There's plenty of Psalms that talk about how David said that my prayers are like making an offering to you. The incense is like, my prayers are like incense. And we'll talk more about that, and I'll show you where that's at, okay? And also, Lot went with him, what, in 1980? Good year. He, Haholek, who was going with Avram, okay? And him and his flocks and his herds and his tents. So it's telling you everything they were doing. And it says that it was too much. It was too much that the land was not able to support them. And so they couldn't dwell together, right? And therefore there was arguments going on between his shepherds and Abraham's shepherds. And, and at that time, there were different people living in the land. But there's one point that I want to bring out to you in these last 5 minutes is that Yah got rid of him, okay? He got rid of Lot. He caused this to happen. He caused the increase. That's why he sent him down to Mitzrayim, because he increased his stock, he increased his servants, he increased everything, and he brought him back to a place that he knew that would not be able to bear all the cattle because they were fighting over resources now. So Lot decides to go down to Sodom, which we're going to talk about later on, okay? And he ends up taking the place. Abram saying, look, we shouldn't have any contention between each other because we're brothers. After he leaves, right, and Lot chooses this place, which I'm not going to go over. Let's talk about what Yah did, okay? And we'll talk about Sodom and Gomorrah later. So in closing, in verse number 14 of chapter number 13, and this is some more ammunition that you can use against a Christian or anybody else that want to talk crazy about what that seed is, because they say that, Paul said that seed was one seed. It was only one. We'll go over that. I'll show you what he said. And Yahweh said to Abram after Lot had left, after he had separated Lot from him, he says, lift up, again, a command. Yah gave him, he says, Sah, lift up now your eyes, because that's what Lot had did. He lifted up his eyes. And he says, see from the place where you are, okay, where you are, Sham, there, the place that you've been. I want you to look at the places that you are right now, and I want you to look at all the land and I want you to look northward. I want you to look southward. I want you to look eastward. I want you to look westward. I want you to look all from every place, every direction, even the place where Lot had looked. He says, and for look, key, for eth, again, a direct object marker, I'm going to point you to all the land, definite article, the land in which in which you see, that you're seeing. That's a participle, ro a, meaning seeing, to lekah. So now we understand what lekah is for. Lekah means to you. That's what lekah means. It not only means to walk, but it also means to, from the lamed, or for. That's what they use it as a preposition here. And ka means you. So I hope you can see the prep, and then there's a line, and then 2ms means you, okay? I want you to know that this is for you. I'm showing you with your eyes. I need you to open your eyes, and I need you to see to lekah, to you, that I will give this land, all of this land, that I will etana, that I will give to ulazeraka. Again, it's not descendants, right? From S right here, it's not supported with the way that it's structured, okay? Because it doesn't have zeraim, but I want to show you what the zeraka means, because they are translating it with an S to mean plural, but now's the explanation for it. So when a Christian or anybody says that seed is one, you can show them that the seed is not one. Verse number 16, final blow, and I will, okay? Here, I will is not really represented properly, because tell me why, Dr. Yared. Why is I will not appropriate?
Because it's Ifael, cause.
Yes, because this T right here on the end tells you that it's what? Is it in the past, present, or future?
Past.
It's in the past because it's at the end of the word. So I will means a future thing. So if you read it from their perspective, he says, and I will. No, it's perfect. P-E-R-F. So in the mind of the creator, this is already done. This is already done. And this is important for you and I to understand. Because if you and I understand that he doesn't mean that I will make, and then gives you an F, where I told you to watch the Fs, your Zedekiah, your second person masculine singer, your seed, singular. No. I have already done this. I've already made Eth, your Zedekiah, your seed, like the what? What's your seed going to be like? Somebody tell me. It's right here.
Dust of the earth.
Dust. So you ask the question: is dust, is the D-U-S-T, is that singular? What's dust like? Is it one grain? What is it? It's literally billions of particles. You understand? So the seed that he's talking about will be like dust, like particles of dust, millions of particles of the earth. How much dust is on the earth?
Nobody knows.
You better you better wrap your mind around this tonight. You better wrap your mind around this tonight. Because if it had to do with one seed, like they're talking about of Christ, then he would have never made reference to it being the dust of the earth. So you bring somebody to chapter number 13, verse number 16. Often everybody goes to chapter 15 and they talk about the covenant. They go to chapter number 17 to talk about circumcision. And they may go to chapter number 22 to talk about, he's given his son, who's going to kill him on the mountain. But they never talk about chapter number 13. Yah is telling us that I have made your descendants, your Zedekiah, like the dust of the earth. This is done. Perfect. P-E-R-F. So as Occulti said, you cannot number the children of Israel. It's actually a crime that Yah says that if you number the children of Israel, which he said to David. And guess what he says? Here, let's finish it. He says, Asher-im, if you can, you call, if you're able, a man to number, to limnoth. And then he tells you again, he's pointing an arrow directly to the dust of the earth. You understand? Not only did he say the dust of the earth, and you can't number it because you cannot, no one can. He says, Gam Zedekiah. That means if they can number the dust of the earth, they can also number your descendants, which they cannot. You understand? And in last part is this, since it's here, command. What is the command that he says? The creator says, arise. He says, kum. Like kumbaya. He tells them to do this, which is to walk, but it has this front part of it called a hitpael. And that is something, an action that you and I can do ourselves. Before the creator said that he'll cause things to happen. He gives them a command to cause for him to do something himself now. He told him to walk. I need you to reflect. I need you to cause yourself. So there's things that Yah will cause to happen for us, and there's things that you and I can cause. When you and I cause something to happen, like eat, we can cause ourselves to eat, so we fed ourselves. We can dress ourselves. We can drive ourselves. We can, bathe ourselves. We can do all kind of stuff to ourselves. You can cause yourself to believe something, okay? So Yah's way that he does things is that I'm going to always give you a command. I'm going to give you a command first. And then I'm looking for you to give me a response. And you see that right here. And we're going to see this word hithalek. And there again is 1980. And what's 1980 again? Is that Lakha. It's in there. Here it is right here. Okay. So the first part of that word is Hith. Hith ha lake, that lake right there. So what I'm telling you to do is walk. I'm telling you to walk with authority because that's what the staff is. I'm telling you, because this means you, but it also means the palm of your hand. And when you walk, you have a message. By me having you walk, okay, sometimes messages are not always heard by what you say. Sometimes what your message doesn't have to be heard, but your message is the action that you and I take. Kika, where are you saying this? Because a lot of people do a lot of talking and they need to do a lot of walking. If you're living a life, we don't need to tell everybody what we're doing. You tell people, you speak to people by the way that you live your life and how you live your life. So this is, as you see, this is a theme that we're always going to see. 1980 is the verb. That's the verb the Yah's really having. That lakha right there is the verb for this whole Torah portion. He's walked to different places. He was led by Yah. He's being pushed by Yah. Yah was causing him to get things. Yah caused him to increase in his wealth. Yah caused him to increase so he can get rid of Lot. You don't think Yah wanted to get rid of Lot? He wanted to get rid of Lot. So Yah can speak to Avram. You see? That division happened because Yah did not want to share the inheritance that he had for Abraham. Even though other people were part of his group and his family, he did tell him, leave your father's house and your relatives. Is that not what he said? That includes his nephew. Because the inheritance and the land that I'm giving you, I don't want to give to anyone else. But I did have something for Lot, which you and I are going to find is the land of Moab, which his sons are Ammon and Moab. Okay. So I wanted to show you that last part about what you and I have to do. That's called the Hithpael. And that is a term that I'm going to be using with you a lot. Because that's the only way that you're ever going to learn it is if I keep talking about it. So you and I are going to Hithpael. And that means walk. So I'm going to say this all the time. Hithalak. Hithpael is the verb tense that you and I could do. When you hear me say Hithpael, that means that you and I are doing a reflexive action, that you and I are responsive, and you and I are the ones who have to do this. Yah gives the command. Second thing is for us to be reflexive and take some type of action. So he tells him to go through the length of the land, and I need you to go to the width of the land. I need you to go to the north. I need you to go to the south. I need you to go to the west, and I need you to go to east and south. I need you to do that. I need the compass. That's what we need to do. Okay? For I will give it to you. All right? And that's what we studied tonight. Hallelujah. Any remarks? Contributions?
Good lesson. Toda Rabbah.
Thank you all. Again, I won't be available on Yom Kamishi, but I will be on Shabbat. Please keep our family in prayer. My wife will be laying her mother to rest finally after 2 weeks.